homeless man asked for the cheapest food. He found he was still 1 cent short. He humbly asked the boss if he could make an exception. The boss didn't reply and threw it in the sink. James silently left. Heading towards his usual corner, he found the garbage for leftover food to eat. This was how he spent every day. He became a homeless street singer, playing an old guitar for pay. His songs expressed his emotions, but no one cared for his story. Only the security guard responded, and he quickly drove him away. He met his father, who they barely speak. His father panicked when he saw him running quickly. The son asked if could he go home and have a meal together because of Christmas. The stepmother spoke first and rejected the request. She looked down on him and didn't care about it. But the father quietly gave him money. He quickly left without returning. This incident upset Bob. One night, a guy invited him for a drug inside someone's car. The next morning, the car discovered 2 people lying inside the car, and the other guy slipped away. Only James was left to face it alone. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself lying in a hospital bed. Standing beside him was a doctor who had once helped him overcome his drug addiction. His eyes were filled with disappointment and heartache, but the doctor didn't give up on him. Upon learning of she went to great length to help him apply for a government-subsidized apartment. The house wasn't big, but provided him with shelter from the wind and rain. While he was taking showers, strange noise came from the bedroom, and he thought someone break into. Clearly, he lived alone. He got up quickly, and the voice trembled violently in his panic. He grabbed his shoes as weapon. He pushed open the bedroom door, but the room was empty. As he was just about to enter the kitchen to see, he felt relieved it was a cat, and fed the cat because he understood the feeling of being hungry. He felt pity and kindness towards a stray cat that had accidentally wandered in. He even poured out the last of the milk he had for the cat, thinking this little orange cat was just lost by accident, unlike himself who had been abandoned by his family. The next morning, he took the cat and went from door to door knocking and asking. No one came to claim, and he had to put the cat back on the street. But reality was cruel. He could barely feed himself, and James returned home empty-handed after performing on the street and found Cat's legs badly injured. He took off his coat, wrapped the cat in it, and ran to his neighbor Betty for help. Betty took one look and told him if left untreated, the infection could become severe. Hearing Betty, James took the cat to Charity Animal Hospital. But just as he was about to leave, the nurse said the treatment was free. But the medicine cost £22, an enormous sum for James because that's his expenses for the week, and he then used the £50 his father left for him to save the cat. But bigger trouble followed. The cat refused the medication and even bit his hand, so he had to ask Betty for help. Surprisingly, the cat behaved in her arms and took the medication easily. As Betty and James talked more, she mentioned there were many drug addicts in the neighborhood. Probably they're the ones who hurt the cat. The next day, he went out to busk on the street. The cat stayed inseparable from him and secretly jumped on the bus when he left him in the neighborhood, surprising all the passengers. Everyone laughed as the cat searched for James until it found him, and James placed him on the window. James squatted down, and Bob lightly jumped onto his shoulder, forming a unique street performer and cat duo. People who once never looked at him now slowed their steps, smiling and asking to take photos as he began to sing and play. Crowd grew larger, tips coming in, and for the first time he felt noticed, even earning more money than ever, and praising Bob as they rode the bus home. The shadow of his past returned when an old friend tried to follow him and asked to stay with him. But James, who already decided to stay away from drugs, politely refused, but, remembering old times, softened and felt sorry for him and gave him money for food and stay away from that stuff. The next day, he found the same friend overdosed on the street, barely breathing, a syringe beside him. "Wake up. Someone call an ambulance," he shouted. Betty rushed over and tried CPR, but it was too late. Watching their friend die left them devastated. The moment reopened Betty's wound, her brother died from drugs. It drove James to quit gambling, but he still hid his past. On Christmas, he brought a gift and went with Bob to see his father, hoping for warmth. But his father was happily celebrating with his other children. The moment the door opened, his father's smile froze. His arrival didn't bring joy, only an awkward, complicated look. Inside, his half-sisters greeted him coldly. "Mommy just likes you. She says you're a junkie." Their cruel words cut deep. His father didn't scold them, only told him to leave. The argument soon caught Bob's attention. Determined to change, he asked the doctor to quit his meds and rely on willpower. The doctor refused, warning recovery isn't instant, and urged him to follow the plan step by step. While picking up his medicine, Betty saw the man who lied to her, walked away in anger, and ended the relationship despite James's attempts to explain. Things worsened. While busking, a man let his dog urinate on James's bag, mocking him. A fight broke out until the police arrived. Proven innocent, James was still banned from busking for 6 months, and despair consumed him. At the supermarket, only a few coins were left. But for Bob, he sold a charity magazine, and his cat on his shoulder drew paying admirers. Soon, James got back on track, becoming a familiar sight in London. A reporter wanted to cover the story of him and his stray cat, but fate had another twist. One day a mother and son tried to buy Bob. When persuasion and guilt failed, James refused. Bob wasn't a pet, he was family. Angry, the woman threw the magazine. The noise startled Bob, who ran into the street with the dog chasing him. By the time James reacted, Bob was gone. He searched the city non-stop for a week, barely eating or sleeping. His mind teetered on collapse, and his old addiction began to stir. The doctor warned James to control his emotions, or all his progress would be wasted. He stared at his empty plate, guitar in hand, tempted by old addictions. Thinking of Bob, he suppressed the urge. A passerby's question shook him, but fate smiled. Exhausted, he returned home too, and found Bob, and the weight of losing him hit hard. Determined, he faced his addiction, ready to detox completely. Dr. Wan warned it would be worse than any illness, and many fail at this stage. He whispered to Bob, this could be it. He sought Betty's forgiveness. She offered food, but he chose to fight alone. The battle was brutal. Agitation, hallucinations, writhing pain. He felt thousands of ants gnawing at his bones. Through it all, Bob stayed silently by his side, pulling him back each time. Sunlight and peace. James had endured and truly reborn. James stepped outside with Bob. Every breath tasted like freedom. He rushed to the doctor, who proudly celebrated his victory. Then, full of hope, he went to see Betty, only to find him moving away. What's going on? You moving? James asked. I'm going home for a while. I can't stay here. Then Betty replied. And then Betty handed him a gift and her new address. The air was filled with unspoken words and a gentle, lingering affection. Finally, James went to see his father, excitedly sharing that he had quit addictions and apologized for his past mistakes. His father looked at the son, who seemed reborn, and could hardly believe it. Trembling, he pulled out a long-kept photo of young James, smiling, innocent, pure. All these years his father had silently missed him, constrained by his wife and family troubles. I was ashamed of myself. I didn't know how to be your father. I'm the one who needs to apologize. the father said. Father and son embraced, finally bridging the years of distance. A light-hearted joke later, even the generational gap dissolved. As James spoke to his father, a family finally reunited. The story of a man and his cat soon went viral. James wrote a memoir with Bob, which became a bestseller. At the launch event, the venue was packed. Betty, the doctor, and his father came to support him.